this situation can't continue. You can't have a nuclear-armed country without a chief of the army staff or without somebody in charge of the nuclear command authority. I would say even a very serious situation for Pakistan, certainly, because you have an army and they're not sure whether he's the chief or not. And in case he gets it into his mind to provoke an incident with India, what happens then? You see, the fact is that the civilian leadership is extremely weak to oppose Asim Munir and the military. Nobody has seen him for the last over 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks. So, and there are rumors flying around that he has been poisoned or he's been killed or whatever. So, in a nutshell, the relationship between the army, especially Asim Munir and the PTI, are as bad as they could get.
Basically, the Pakistan, actually, the deadline has been expired yesterday on November 29th. And it's been like whole 24 hours, and they haven't yet decided who will continue as the defense chief. Like, the question is, would Asif Munir would continue to like, in his position?
As the army chief?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, and that's why there's a lot of debate and controversy on it, because his tenure finished yesterday. And as per the amendment, the 27th Amendment to the Constitution, there is now a Chief of Defence Force, and the term of the Army Chief will be coterminous with the CDF and runs for 5 years. But there has to be a notification. You see, I'll read out the provision of the Army Act, which was modified. Provided that for the first appointment of Chief of Army Staff, concurrently the Chief of Defence Forces, under Article 243 of the Constitution, the tenure under this section shall commence from the date of notification of the said office. Now, because there is no notification issued yet, so then the obvious question is that Munir would have retired yesterday. Now, some people feel that there is a controversy. This is very clear that, only from the date of notification can he continue as Army Chief and Chief of Defence Forces. But some people feel that the Army Act was also amended in 2004, under which the tenure of the Army Chief was for 5 years. So he's done 3 years, 22 to 25. He has another 2 years to go. So they feel that no new notification is actually required. Now, this is controversial. And we don't know which way or how the judiciary will look at it or how the government will look at it. But the fact of the matter is that this makes his position very tenuous. At the same time, there are reports that there are other generals in the general headquarters and within the top echelons of the army who are now jostling for position to become army chief or to become, there are 2 new posts of 4 stars that have been created. So all in all, this is a very messy state of affairs. And if the fact remains that he is no longer the army chief, then you have a situation where Pakistan doesn't have an army chief, and even the nuclear command authority, which was supposed to be under a new post of Strategic Forces Command, that is also not there. So it's an extremely strange situation that Pakistan is under at the moment.
So what do you think is going to be the repercussions of this? Like, if this continues for more 2-3 days, maybe a week, if they are indecisive on who should continue, what do you think should be the repercussions of it?
No, there'll be serious repercussions, and I don't think so it can continue for that long. You see, very smartly, the Prime Minister, he had gone to Bahrain, and from there, he pushed off to London. He's supposed to be in London for 3 or 4 days. I don't know whether he's come back or when he will come back. So he is deliberately staying out of this because he clearly doesn't want to issue the notification giving Asim Munir 5 years as Army Chief and as Chief of Defence Forces. So he thinks that by keeping away from Pakistan and not having to sign the notification, he can escape the consequences. But this situation can't continue. You can't have a nuclear-armed country without a Chief of the Army Staff or without somebody in charge of the nuclear command authority.
So what kind of effect would it make on Pakistan's you say on the justice, or maybe whatever the defense services are happening, the basically the whole of army, and we just had Operation Sindhu few months back, and if such things happen, how would you think they'll deal with this?
But that's a good question. Nobody knows. In fact, you look at it the other way. Just to prove his utility and the fact that he must continue and the notification should be issued, he could provoke an incident. Even though legally, technically, he may not be army chief, but he could still provoke it. Who's to challenge him? So it's a very unsatisfactory situation. I would say even a very serious situation for Pakistan, certainly, because you have an army and they're not sure whether he is the chief or not. And in case he gets it into his mind to provoke an incident with India, what happens then? So it's a dangerous situation.
So what do you think it makes, it's delaying them to decide who's gonna be the next army chief? Like, what is there a rift something, or there's some higher authority which is not could not decide over it, or what exactly is it you feel?
You see, the fact is that the civilian leadership is extremely weak to oppose Asim Munir and the military. So they are doing these tricks by the back door. If they were strong, they could have told him, sorry, we were not going to give you 5 years, we're not going to make you chief of defense forces. But this was rammed through parliament because of the pressure of the army to create this post of chief of defense forces, which also is the head of the air force and and the navy. So it is because of the weakness of the civilian government. That's the reason why they are delaying it through backdoor tactics rather than being upfront. They clearly don't want to appoint or sign the notification for 5 years as CDF, or in 5 years, another 5 years. He's already done 3 years. So by the time he finishes, he would have done 8 years. He could then even seek 5 years after that. People suspect that if he gets 5 years now till 2030, he will carry on till 2035. Therefore, they don't want it to be done now. And that's the reason why they are delaying it.
So you think that there's a thought they are putting about Sharif brothers on the CDF post?
Sorry?
So do you think there's a rethought being put by the Pakistani authorities to think Sharif brothers on the CDF post?
No, there can't be a rethink because the constitutional amendment has already been passed. And all of them voted for the constitutional amendment, including the Sharifs. So even if they have a rethink, they are trying to sabotage it through the back door. Not directly, not openly, because the constitutional amendment has already created the post of the CDF.
So what is the current status of rift between army and the PTI led by Imran Khan?
So, there, as you know, Imran Khan has been languishing in jail since 2023. And largely it is believed due to the personal animosity between Asim Munir and Imran Khan. When Asim Munir was DG ISI, for reasons that are debatable, Imran Khan had him removed as DG ISI. And Asim Munir has not forgotten that humiliation. So now that he is in power, he's making sure that Imran Khan is out of the equation and kept in prison, and he will continue in prison so long as Asim Munir continues to be the army chief. There are some reports, of course, that his health is in jeopardy, and nobody has seen him for the last over 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks. So, and there are rumors flying around that he has been poisoned or he's been killed or whatever. So, in a nutshell, the relationship between the army, especially Asim Munir and the PTI, are as bad as they could get.
So even Imran Khan's sister had threatened and said that even if it touches hair, there will be serious repercussions of it. What? How do you see this? Is there a rift, difficult situation in Pakistan internally?
Yeah, because, as a sister, she's worried and concerned about the health of her brother. So, it is natural for her to, say what she said, that, if you harm my brother, then you face the consequences. So, it also shows that people are concerned about his health, about his well-being. Because otherwise, why should not the government show proof of life? Why is the government trying to create another problem? They simply have to show Imran Khan, for people to be convinced and let the law take its course, whatever cases are going on against him. But by hiding him from public view, isolating him, in a country like Pakistan, conspiracy theories, rule the roost. And therefore, these rumors are there. And therefore, I don't blame her for saying what she did because as a sister, she's definitely concerned.
So how do you think, is he controlling his party from jail? And you feel, is there any rift within the army?
Sorry, you're asking two different questions. One is
Or what is
controlling the PTI, and
yes,
second, rift within the army.
yes,
So these are two separate issues.
yes.
Now, he is controlling the party simply because he's the most popular man in Pakistan. Nobody in the party would dare to go against him or try and break the party or set up a different party because they will just not have any support. He is much too popular. He's a cult figure. And the public support for him is overwhelming. So that's how he manages to control the party even from jail. As far as rift within the army is concerned, as I mentioned, there seems to be reports of jostling within the senior echelons of the army that if the post of the army chief and two other four stars are going to be vacant, then the people who are in the top 4 or 5 will definitely become contenders. Not that they're going to stage a coup or march against Asim Munir or remove him, but everybody would like to be chief. Everybody would like to get a promotion. So there are differences to that extent, but not to the extent that there's going to be some sort of a military coup against Asim Munir.
So do you think the government is going to collapse completely in Pakistan? Because the kind of situation they are going through, they are not even decisive on who should be their next chief of defense. You think it's going to collapse and make a serious situation in Pakistan for the people of Pakistan?
The government has a majority in parliament. There is no threat to the government from parliament, within parliament. There is no reason why the government should fall or collapse, as you mentioned. Yes, they may not have taken a decision on this. That may be a deliberate choice. Because as I mentioned, they may not want to give him 5 years as another 5 years as army chief or as chief of defense forces. But that doesn't mean that the government is going to collapse. Because they were all of them voted for the 27th Amendment. So there was no issue in that. I don't see the government collapsing.
So what would you put more about the Asif Munir's, as a chief of defense, whatever years he's been spent, what do you think kind of a character he is?
Can you just repeat your question simply? What are you saying?
So I'm saying a chief of defense is Asif Munir, right? So the kind of tenure he has led, would you want to shed some light on it? What kind of person he is, or what kind of officer he is?
No, he's certainly like, most army chiefs of Pakistan. He's authoritarian. He believes in unity of command, that he's the person in command and in control. Earlier, he had control of the army. Now he has control. He will have control over the Air Force and the Navy. So that is something which neither the Navy nor the Air Force will like. So we'll have to wait and watch and see what kind of a relationship he develops with the Navy and with the Air Force, because they would not like their commands to be undercut. But as a what he has come out, that he believes in unity of command, that is, and he is on the top and everybody else follows him and listens to him.
So this is second last question I'm asking you. Now the delay in appointing a CDF, you think it's gonna impact Pakistan's nuclear command and control architecture completely?
It will impact it in the sense that it will become a one-man show, because the person who is appointed as commander of the nuclear command will be a nominee of the army chief. He will recommend his name to the prime minister, who will then appoint him. So he will report directly to the army chief. So to that extent, the nuclear program of Pakistan will become a one-man show. There will be less consultation. There will probably be more aggressive posturing. So it will be totally under the command of Asim Munir.
So from an Indian viewpoint, I would ask, could a more integrated Pakistani military structure alter the balance in joint operations or intelligence coordination?
We don't know how it will work, because You see, when they were the chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, he coordinated all the three services. He was not sitting on the top of the Army and the Navy. Now you have the CDF, who will be sitting on top of the Army and the Navy. So we don't know how that interpersonal relationship, how this will work, and whether there'll be jointness or not, or whether there'll be rivalry. We'll have to wait and see how this will actually work out in practice.
So as we are seeing, like, Pakistan is saying that, claiming basically that CDF will have greater authority over PF and Navy. How feasible you think is this, considering the historical dominance of the army?
No, historical dominance of the army has dominated within the army itself, and it has taken decisions for Pakistan without consulting the Navy and the Air Force. In both in 65 and in 1971, the Air Force and the Navy were not consulted. But the army did not control them. The army was not sitting on top of them. Now, under the CDF system, it will be. So, as I said, how it works in practice will have to be seen. That, does it work well? Does it not work well? There's a lot of friction between the other two services and the army. So we'll have to wait and see how that actually works in practice.
So, do you see signs of institutional disagreement within Pakistan's military leadership over authority distribution between the army, air force, and the Pakistan Navy?
As I said, you're repeating the question. As I said, there will be friction. Nobody would like to give up his command. I mean, who's the commander of the Pakistan Air Force? He likes to believe that the Air Force is his preserve. He doesn't want somebody else to come and sit on his head. Similarly with the Navy. So we'll just have to see how it works in practice.